In the 1970s, a social psychologist decided to do something unusual. Instead of studying persuasion in a laboratory, he went undercover. He spent 3 years infiltrating the most persuasive industries on earth: car dealerships, telemarketing firms, charity organizations, advertising agencies, door-to-door sales operations, training alongside the people who made their entire living convincing others to say yes. He wasn't there to sell anything. He was there to understand something that had been bothering him for years: why intelligent, rational, educated people said yes to things they didn't want, didn't need, and sometimes couldn't afford. Not because they were stupid, not because they were weak, but because something in the way the request was made bypassed their rational mind entirely and triggered a response so automatic, so deeply wired that they didn't even know it had happened until it was too late. His name was Robert Cialdini, and what he documented across those 3 years became one of the most important, most cited, and most quietly dangerous books ever written about human behavior. It's called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion. And whether you've read it or not, the principles inside it are being used on you, right now, every day. By the people who designed the app on your phone, the sale in your inbox, the offer that felt too good to refuse. Today, we're breaking down every single one, not so you can manipulate people, so you can see the invisible levers being pulled and decide, for the first time, whether you actually want to say yes. Let's break it. Section 1: Why we say yes without thinking. Before Cialdini gets to the 6 principles, he lays a foundation that changes how you see almost every decision you make. He introduces the idea of fixed action patterns, automatic sequences of behavior triggered by a single specific cue. In animals, this is well documented. A mother turkey will nurture anything that makes the cheeping sound of a chick, even a stuffed predator, with a speaker inside it. Remove the sound, and she'll attack her own offspring. The trigger fires, the behavior follows, no thought required. Cialdini's unsettling argument is that human beings are not as different from that turkey as we'd like to believe. We live in a world of overwhelming complexity. Too many decisions, too much information, too little time, so the brain builds shortcuts, what Cialdini calls click-whir responses, where a single trigger automatically launches a pre-programmed behavior. Someone in a white coat must know what they're talking about. Something expensive must be high quality. If everyone else is doing it, it must be the right move. These shortcuts are not flaws. They are survival mechanisms, accurate often enough to be useful, but exploitable by anyone who understands how to activate the trigger without delivering the real thing. That's what the 6 principles of influence are. 6 triggers, 6 shortcuts, 6 levers that, when pressed correctly, produce automatic compliance from otherwise perfectly rational people. Knowing them doesn't make you immune, but it makes you dangerous in a different way aware. Section 2: The 6 principles. Principle 1: Reciprocity. This is the oldest social contract in human history and the most powerful. When someone gives us something, we feel a deep, almost physical obligation to give something back. Not because we consciously decided to, because we are wired for it. Every human society ever studied runs on reciprocity. It is the foundation of cooperation, trade, and community. But here's the weapon version of it. The obligation triggered by reciprocity is almost entirely disconnected from whether you wanted the gift in the first place. The free sample at the supermarket, the small, unsolicited favor before the ask, the charity that mails you a personalized pen before requesting a donation. You didn't ask for any of it. But receiving it creates a pressure to give back that most people find deeply uncomfortable to resist. Cialdini's finding gifts given before a request dramatically increase compliance even when the gift is unwanted. Even when the person knows the technique is being used. The defense understand that uninvited gifts are not generosity. They are investments. You are under no obligation to repay what you did not choose to receive. Principle 2: Commitment and consistency. Once we take a position, once we do something, say something, sign something, or publicly align ourselves with a belief we will go to extraordinary lengths to stay consistent with that position. Even when new information suggests we're wrong, even when the position no longer serves us, even when we know, somewhere, that we should change. Cialdini documents this with striking examples. The foot in the door technique, getting a small yes that makes the larger yes almost inevitable. The written commitment which produces stronger behavior change than a verbal one. The public declaration which is more binding than anything done privately. The weapon version gets someone to commit to something small and consistent with a larger ask you intend to make later. By the time the big ask arrives, their identity is already aligned with saying yes. The defense: ask yourself, am I doing this because it's the right move today? Or because I said yes to something 3 months ago and now I don't want to look inconsistent? Principle 3, social proof. When we are uncertain what to do, we look at what other people are doing and treat that as evidence of the correct behavior. This is not stupidity. In a genuinely complex world, the collective behavior of others carries real information. If everyone is running away from something, there's probably a reason to run. But the weapon version manufactures the appearance of social consensus, and people will follow regardless of whether the consensus is real. The hotel towel sign that says, "Most guests reuse their towels," is more effective than any environmental argument. The laugh track on a television show makes the audience laugh more, even at jokes that aren't funny. The crowded restaurant feels better than the empty one next door, regardless of the food. 5-star reviews, bestseller badges, follower counts, download numbers. All of them are social proof signals, and all of them can be engineered to produce compliance in people who would otherwise think more carefully. The defense asks, am I drawn to this because it's good, or because others seem to think it is? Principle 4, liking. We say yes to people we like. This sounds obvious. The implications are not. Cialdini identifies the specific factors that produce liking, and they are alarmingly shallow. Physical attractiveness, similarity, familiarity, association with good things. Compliments, even ones we know are strategic. We like people who are like us, who went to the same school, support the same team, share the same background. We like people who make us feel good about ourselves. We like people we've seen before, even if we can't remember where. The weapon version skilled persuaders manufacture liking before they make their ask. They dress like you. They mention a shared connection. They compliment you on something specific. They let you know they're on your side before they reveal what they want. By the time the pitch arrives, you're not evaluating the product. You're evaluating a friend. The defense separate the offer from the person making it. Would you still say yes if a stranger asked the same thing? Principle 5, authority. We are conditioned from childhood to defer to authority parents, teachers, doctors, experts, officials, and for good reason. Authority often does correlate with genuine knowledge and earned trust. But the weapon version is chilling symbols of authority trigger compliance even when the authority is entirely fabricated. Titles, uniforms, expensive suits. The endorsement from an expert the audience cannot verify. The study that sounds rigorous but isn't. The confident tone that signals certainty the speaker doesn't actually possess. Cialdini documented experiments where people inflicted what they believed to be dangerous electric shocks on strangers simply because someone in a white coat told them to continue. Not because they were cruel, because authority said so, and the click-whir response fired before their conscience could intervene. The defense asked 2 questions before deferring. Is this person actually an authority in this specific area? And do they have an interest in my compliance? Principle 6, scarcity. Things become more desirable when they appear rare. Opportunities feel more valuable when they might disappear. This is not entirely irrational scarcity, often does signal genuine value. Limited resources are worth protecting. Closing windows are worth acting on. But the weapon version is the most visible manipulation in modern marketing: artificial scarcity, engineered urgency, manufactured deadlines. The countdown timer that resets every time you visit the page. The only 3 left notification on a product with infinite digital inventory. The limited time offer that is somehow always available. Every one of these is a trigger for the scarcity response, and every one of them bypasses the rational question, would I want this if it were available anytime? The defense introduce a pause. If the urgency is real, it will still be true in 24 hours. If it disappears with a night's sleep, it was never yours to begin with. Section 3. The reframe that changes everything. Here's what Cialdini leaves you with, and it's not what most people expect from a book about persuasion. He is not anti-influence. His argument is not that these 6 principles are evil, or that everyone using them is a manipulator. He acknowledges that most of the time, these shortcuts serve us. Most authority figures are worth listening to. Most popular things are popular for a reason. Most reciprocity creates genuine connection. The problem is not the lever. The problem is the person who pulls it when the trigger and the reality have been deliberately disconnected, who manufactures authority they don't have, scarcity that doesn't exist, social proof that was engineered. Cialdini calls these people compliance practitioners, and his final message is both a warning and an education. You cannot opt out of a world that uses these principles. They are embedded in every sales conversation, every piece of marketing, every political message, every negotiation you will ever have. But you can become the person who sees the lever before it's pulled, who pauses before the click whir fires, who asks, is this actually what I want, or is this what someone else has engineered me to want? That pause is the most powerful thing this book gives you, not persuasion techniques, awareness. And awareness, once you have it, is the one thing no one can take back. So here's the pattern this book is asking you to break. The pattern of believing you are immune to influence, that you make decisions rationally, based on evidence, free from manipulation. Nobody is. Cialdini wasn't. That's why he spent 3 years studying it from the inside. What you can do is build the gap between stimulus and response, that small but decisive space where your awareness lives, where you notice the trigger before the behavior fires, where you choose, consciously, whether to comply or to walk away. The 6 principles are not going to stop being used on you, but starting today, you will see them. And the moment you see a weapon clearly, it becomes significantly harder to use against you. Think differently. Live intentionally. Write in the comment hat was the useful lesson you learned in this video. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I'll see you in the next one.